My name is Charlie Lopez, and I'm going to be one of your moderators this morning. I am a business development specialist for the MBDA Business Center, operated by the El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I would also like to introduce my co-moderator, Ms. Terry Reed, who is the project director here at the MBDA Business Center, operated by the El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce as well. Here at our chamber, we are celebrating our 30-year anniversary in 2020, and let me tell you a little bit about us. The vision of our chamber is to continue to be the core component for the El Paso region in fostering entrepreneurial economic development, where our existing companies are growing, where our entrepreneurs are reaching new horizons, and where our small minority and women-owned business are thriving and outpacing all other markets. Some of the benefits here at the chamber are our networking and getting to know each other. Our team of business development specialists who are in-house, and their job is to connect you to opportunities in financing and procurement. Our chamber also prides itself on being an advocate for you and being your voice. Here at our chamber, we have 2 entrepreneurial technical assistance centers. Our first center is our Women's Business Border Center, which is a joint partnership of the El Paso Hispanic Chamber and the United States Small Business Administration. Our second is our MBDA Business Center, which is funded by the U.S. Department of Commerce and operated by the Hispanic Chamber. Both of these centers have COVID response teams as well. Now let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and introduce our speaker for today, Ms. Claudia Garcia. So if you'd like to go ahead and get your presentation ready. Ms. Claudia, good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you.
We're very excited to have you here this morning, Ms. Garcia. Ms. Garcia is an Assistant Director of Purchasing and Strategic Sourcing for the City of El Paso. With 9 years of governmental procurement experience, she specializes in processing procurements for the capital improvement, streets and maintenance, and airport and mass transit departments. As a strong believer in the power of continuous process improvement, Claudia continually seeks ways to improve internal processes that will move the purchasing and strategic sourcing department towards becoming a stronger and more efficient department. In 2018, Claudia received the Byron Johnson Award for the City of El Paso for her dedication to work as a procurement professional and attained her designation as a certified professional buyer. She is currently working towards earning her Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certification. Ms. Garcia, we're so excited to have you this morning, and we can't wait to hear all of the resourceful information you will relay with our audience in this session. But before we get started, I would like to announce that if there are any questions before we please submit them in the Q&A down at the bottom of your screen, or if you're watching Facebook Live via Messenger, and Ms. Garcia will be able to answer them at the end of her presentation. So now you could go ahead and take it away, Ms. Garcia.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Give me just 1 second. And guys, we tried this yesterday and it worked, but now that I need it to work, it's not. So give me just 1 second.
Of course, it's okay. Understandable. Zoom sometimes gives some technical difficulties.
Absolutely. While we're waiting for Claudia to get her presentation up on the screen, we'll tell you a little bit about our COVID response teams and 2 very big initiatives that are going on here within the chamber. So for anybody that's interested, we have two projects that we are undertaking. One is a grant program for businesses that are located out in the county areas, in the rural areas. So Horizon, San Elizario, Clint, Fabens, Socorro, Anthony, Vinton, and Canutillo. Please give us a call if you are interested in a grant. Grants are not loans. You don't pay them back. So we are going to be giving away some grant funds between $500 and $2,500. And give us a call. I'll put our number in the chat, and we hope that you will call us and talk to us. Today is the deadline. The application is very simple, and we will extend it if you're interested in applying. So I see that the presentation is up and running, and we'll give you more information about our second initiative when Ms. Garcia's presentation has concluded. Thank you.
Well, first of all, guys, thank you so much for attending this training. I know it's a little early for some of us, especially we're working from home. I'm here at the office at City Hall, and I just want to thank you first of all for coming to this presentation. This has been a very important topic that we want you to share with you, and why it is so important. Because as you know, from an evaluation, and the Purchasing and Strategic Sourcing Department makes recommendations. So sometimes when we receive responses from you guys to our solicitations, we see the need to let you know what we're going to be doing with those responses. And one of the two factors that are very important for us to be evaluating are references and past performance. And I'm going to show you in this presentation how we evaluate those two factors. But let me just go ahead and start with our mission. As you know, the City of El Paso follows a strategic plan, being our mission to deliver exceptional services to support a high quality of life and place for our community. You might think, well, how I'm gonna be your customer? Well, we want you to know all the things we do, how we do it, so you can do better when submitting our response. And we want to provide that exceptional service to our customers, in this case, businesses. The Purchasing and Strategic Sourcing Department aligns with this plan, and we fall under goal number 6, set the standard for sound governance and fiscal management. Specifically subsection 6.7, deliver an efficient process to maximize value in obtaining goods and services. The department also has a mission, and we want to make sure we are, as I mentioned before, aligned with the city's mission. We want to deliver exceptional customer service, and at the same time, we are obtaining the best value for the city in our contracts. So we have 3 objectives during this presentation. By the end of this presentation, we want to make sure you know how to prepare a response for past performance and references. This is very important for you guys to know, because as you know, from an evaluation, an award gets recommended to City Council for approval. So you're gonna know how the city evaluates past performance and how the city evaluates or scores references. So I'm gonna split the presentation between the 2 main areas we have here in purchasing, which are the procurement of goods and services and the procurement of construction services. The process, it is slightly different, but you're gonna see some of the main components of both type of solicitations. So we're gonna start with goods and services procurements. For goods and services procurements, as I mentioned before, we evaluate 2 factors that are very important as part of our evaluations for certain type of solicitations. When we're trying to procure contracts for janitorial services, security services, or some other services that require to be evaluated further than only price. So it is important for us because obviously we want to obtain the best value for the city. And as I mentioned, depending on the type of services we're looking for, the type of procurements we use, where we evaluate these 2 factors, typically are best value procurements, requests for qualifications, and requests for proposals. So we want to make sure we know how a supplier has been doing with another party. So we're going to be contacting that reference to make sure that the supplier submitting a response provides a quality service, has the skills that we need, and it is social responsible. On the past performance, we also want to know how the supplier has performed on comparable contracts or projects, and how these can impact the city of El Paso in obtaining the best value for that service we are procuring. We have some main characteristics of these two factors being evaluated under these type of procurements, but it is very important, and let me emphasize that typically we have a standard template, but it depends on the service we're looking for, that we might change some of the information being requested under each factor. So it is very, very important, guys, that you read the solicitation from beginning to end. As I said before, depending on the funding, depending on the service we're trying to procure, there might be specific items unique to those solicitations. So most of the times you're going to see that it is a standard template. We're asking for the same information depending on the service. But some other times we have those unique procurements where we're asking you for specific information that you need to know about in order to submit a good response. So for the reputation and quality of our service, typically we ask for 3 references. You have to make sure you provide the agency, the contact name, telephone number, and email address. It is very important that you provide all this information, because remember, we're going to be contacting those references in order to ask a few questions about how the supplier being evaluated has performed, or if they have a good reputation with the reference being submitted. For references or reputation and quality of our services, you have to exclude the city as the reference. So this is one of the main things that we see when we are evaluating your responses, that as a reference, you are including city employees as reference. And unfortunately, because this is not allowed under this factor, we cannot evaluate that factor. So that reference, so that automatically it's deducting points. So let's say we allocated 30 points for reputation and we asked for 3 references. So if you include a city reference, then you are only going to be getting up to 20 points, because you already lost 10 points for providing a references that we cannot use, because it is specified in the description of the factor. Again, it is very important that you submit the information we're asking you for, because we're going to try as much as we can to contact that reference to ask for an evaluation of your performance with them. The city is not responsible to check the accuracy of the reference provided. It is your whole responsibility to submit accurate information. We're not going to be contacting you to replace any reference. So whatever you submit is all we're going to be using. So the process we have to get in contact with the reference you are submitting, we're gonna try 3 times. So we're gonna send them an email, and then we're gonna call them twice. If they don't respond to us, then you're gonna be obtaining 0 for that reference. So just following the same example I was providing before, if you submitted a 0 reference out of the 3, you could have gotten 20 points, but one of your references didn't respond. So you got 0 for that response. And remember, we're going to be trying 3 times. And as soon as we finish that process, the evaluation is closed. Sometimes we get responses after the evaluation has been closed, and we don't go back. So because we have a set time to complete the evaluation for this type of procurements. So as soon as the evaluation is closed, we cannot go back to include those scores that were provided after we were looking for the reference. And as I explained before, we're going to divide the total points allocated for that factor by dividing the references we're asking you for. Again, typically we ask for 3 references, but it depends on the service or the specificity of the procurement or the uniqueness of the service we're trying to procure. We might ask for something else in this particular factor. So now we move to past performance. Again, typically we ask for 3 comparable projects, it is very important, comparable projects. Also, you need to give us the information so we can contact that entity to see how you did under that contract. In this factor, you can include city contracts because you might be having contracts with the city that are similar in nature and that you have been performing well. So we're gonna use the vendor performance report that we have stored in our vendor performance system. And I know in the past we also have presented this system to with the Hispanic chambers. So we're glad to come back with this topic at a later date if you're guys interested on this topic. So the city has this database where we store all the performance evaluations for the active contracts. And those are closed, but fall within the time frame to be in the database to be used for evaluation purposes. Again, remember, the city is not responsible for checking the accuracy of the reference for past performance provided. We're not going to be contacting the reference. Same process. We tried 3 times to check past performance on the comparable projects you're submitting. If we don't get a response, first by email or 2 phone calls, then that particular project will get a 0 on the past performance. And again, it is the same process. So as you know, the main difference between these two, it is for reputation. You cannot include the city as a reference. So any city employees, any past contract you have had with the city will not be evaluated under this factor. For past performance, obviously you can include city contracts. So I'm gonna give you an example, and probably you are familiar with our template, but again, it is very important that you read through all the solicitation because sometimes it depends on what we're trying to procure. We might have unique requirements for those under that solicitation. In this case, will be reputation and quality of offerers. We are asking for 3 references of projects comparable in size and complexity to the requirements within the solicitation. We're giving you the process we follow to contact those references and telling you that you have to make sure you're giving us the correct information. So it is very important before you submitting a response, you double check that the information is correct, that your references know that we're going to be calling them. So they are aware of that that process, and they can expect or call. So many times we have to call them, and the person that it is listed no longer works with them, or they don't know what we are talking about. So it is very important that you get in touch with those references. Also, under sometimes under this factor, we're gonna tell you what we're gonna be asking them. In this case, we're gonna be asking if you completed the project on time, within budget, how communication was between staff from both parties, and we're giving you the points allocated to each question. This is a very important section. We're gonna assume that all these references listed as in the example are comparable. We have a phone number, a name, we have an email address. So all the information that we ask, it is complete here. So it is very important that you pay attention to this. We have seen so many responses where they leave all this blank, or they just give me a name and a phone number, and they're missing the code area, or the numbers are not correct. And as you know, I mean, if we don't have the correct information, I mean, we're gonna try up to a certain extent. Okay, we're gonna dial the number, they can give us an email address, or let's call. And if we don't get a response, or if the information is incorrect and they let us know, I mean, the reference will be getting a 0. Now, I'm gonna move to the past performance, and I'm gonna be a little bit more specific in this example. We're gonna be saying that we're procuring a janitorial service for this solicitation. So again, the 3 past performance lists that we are asking you for, they have to be comparable. If we're soliciting for janitorial services, make sure you include the appropriate information. And you can see in the example, I'm listing the client's name, City of El Paso. Remember, for past performance, you can include city contracts. Okay, that's good. But I don't have a contract number. I don't have the title of the contract. And they are giving me just a generic number. So the second item listed for past performance for this janitorial contract, City of El Paso, okay. The contract, it is 2018-213 scrap metal. They're giving me the contact information, phone number, name, the email address, but guess what? This item, it is not comparable to what we are doing. It checks all the other boxes, but it is missing to check the comparable contract. So I'm not gonna be evaluating this because it has nothing to do with janitorial contract. So now we go to the third item listed as one of the 3 references for past performance. Okay, West Transportation. Contract number, I don't have it. Some private entities, they don't have it structured like that. But then title is transportation. So nothing to do with janitorial services. They're giving me a phone number, didn't give me an email address. But by default, I cannot evaluate this because it has to meet that minimum requirement criteria to be evaluated. So it is very important, guys, that you pay attention to the instructions we have in vessel stations. When we set comparable contracts, make sure you are submitting contracts that are comparable. This is the easiest example, janitorial. We know what a janitorial contract entails, and also it is described in the solicitation under the scope of work. So you have a contract that is comparable to this one, by all means, submit all the information and we will be able to evaluate it. I'm gonna touch just a little bit on the VPR and how it works and how we use it to evaluate past performance for when suppliers submit city contracts. If you're including a contract with the city as part of your past performance, we're going to be using the vendor performance system. And this system has all the vendor performance reports for, all, as I mentioned, for all the contracts we have active and those that were recent. So all the completed and or active contracts are part of this vendor performance report system. So this is what we do when we see in your response that you submitted a city contract. So we make sure that the contract you are submitting, you have been performing for a minimum of 1 year. So if you just got awarded a contract, let's say last month, and you submitted it as part of your past performance items, I'm not gonna be able to use that even when it met all the checks that we discussed earlier in this presentation, because we have to make sure that user department are satisfied with that, the performance under that contract. And we think a year, it is a reasonable amount of time to evaluate your performance under the city contract. So again, if you're submitting a city contract, make sure you have been performing for at least 1 year. If you have been performing for more, all the information it is in the database. Also, something that it is important for you to know is that we average all the VPRs in the system for one specific contract. So let's say we have contract number 1, janitorial services, and that contract has been in place for 3 years with an option to extend for 2 additional years. If I go and check contract number 1 for janitorial services at this point, I should have at least 2 evaluations for that contract, and probably the user department is getting ready to do the 3rd vendor performance report for that past year. So I'm gonna get the average of those 2 or 3 reports under that contract, and that's what we're gonna be using under the evaluation. So when the average, it is more than 7, the supplier obtains the maximum points allocated for that contract. So let me just give you a numerical example. let's say we allocated 30 points for past performance. We ask you for 3 similar or comparable contracts. So I'm evaluating the first item, which is a city contract. You met all the other requirements. You have 3 vendor performance report in the system, and you got an 85. Okay, so 85, if we go back to the 30 points, it will be 10 points per reference or per contract for past performance. So instead, obviously, of the 84, you're going to be getting the 10 points for that item. If the average is less than 70 or 7, you're not going to be getting points. So this is the standard the city has to evaluate vendors. Whenever we complete an evaluation, and even for individual evaluation factors, if a vendor scores less than 70, we wouldn't be recommending award, or we wouldn't be allocating points for that past performance contract as listed to be evaluated, and the supplier for that item will be getting 0. But anything more than 70 or 7, you will be getting the points allocated for that particular item. So it is very important that you take advantage of all this information. We want you to avoid making sometimes simple mistakes, and that can change the evaluation dramatically. Sometimes not providing the correct information for 1 or 2 items of the ones we have been talking under each factor, can make the difference. 10 points, it's a lot. So by not providing the correct information, leaving it blank, you are reducing your points automatically. So please don't leave any of these items blank. Make sure the information is accurate and correct, and contact your references for this. Tell them that we're gonna be calling them. Make sure that the person that is gonna be talking to us, they know how you have done under these contracts you're listing. Make sure that we have the correct phone number. Sometimes we call them and we cannot leave voicemails, or the email it's not correct, doesn't go through, or their inbox is full and they cannot get our emails. Or you were not the prime contractor for or supplier for that contract. We have seen, and we just want you to know all the things we have found along the years when we are evaluating these 2 factors for goods and services. So it is very important. Sometimes you think there are minor things, but as I've been mentioning, it is crucial for the evaluation. And the end result of an evaluation will be a recommendation to City Council for award. So it is very important that you pay attention to all these little or minor details that you might think, oh, it's not as important. Well, it is, because an evaluation depends on this. So now I'm gonna move to construction procurements. The process is slightly different. So it has some items where you need to pay special attention. So I'm gonna go over those. The templates for our construction solicitations are slightly different. So it is very important that you know for construction and their experience and reputation, they go together. They're not separated as for goods and services other than construction. For construction, they go together. We ask you for experience, and we will contact that entity to see how you did on that particular contract. So it is very important, again, that you read the specifications or the details of the factors that are going to be evaluated. It is very important that you make sure you are submitting the number of projects we are asking you to be comparable. And you're going to see all the details under each factor. For construction projects, typically we ask for 3, but sometimes it depends on the complexity of what we're going to be evaluating. We might ask you for 1, we might ask you for 2, or we might ask you for more than 3. So it is very important that you comply with these minimum requirements. So make sure you know how many projects we're asking you for. Another important thing for construction, also for goods and services, we have a time frame, but you have to be very careful that the projects that were completed or you are submitting as part of this factor to be evaluated that they are within the time frame. It depends again on the complexity of the project. We might be asking you for 10 years, within the past 10 years, or within the past 5 years, or within the past 2 years. It depends again on the complexity of the construction project we're procuring. And another important thing, sometimes in construction, it is very important for us to know how big. And one of the ways we have to evaluate that, it is the construction value. So if we're asking you for 3 projects within the 5 years and of a construction value of 1 million, you have to make sure you meet those minimum requirements. So let me give you an example. If I'm going to be asking for 3 projects, I'm going to be checking those minimum requirements first. Again, the points are 30 points. So that means that each project will be 10 points if we divided the 30 points by the 3 projects I'm asking you for. Okay, so let's say project number 1. Okay, it is number 1. You know what? I was asking for a project completed within the 5 past years. And that project was completed with 10 years ago. So that minimum requirement, it is eliminating that project to be evaluated because it is not within the past 5 years I was asking you for. And we count from bid opening back. So, okay, I'm gonna move to project number 2. Okay, this is project number 2 within the past 5 years. I asked for $1 million contract value, and guess what? The final construction value was $800,000. So I'm gonna be evaluating project number 2. So automatically there, 20 points out of the 30. And let's say the third project submitted, it is in compliance with the minimum requirement. So the committee will only be able to evaluate that last project. And you can get up to 10 points. Those 10 points have a different allocation because remember, we're gonna be evaluating experience. So the committee selected to evaluate experience, they will be allocating those 5 points. And I'm just giving you simple numbers. Then I'm gonna contact the reference for that project and to ask them a few questions for this construction project. And then I'm gonna just ask them and score the numbers there or the answers to the questions they're gonna be giving me. We have a scale, we use a scale all the time to give them some reference, a simple one from 0 to 10. How would you evaluate this contractor on these, and this other area? So that's how we evaluate experience and reputation for construction. And all the details are in the solicitation. So as you know, it is very important that you comply with the minimum requirements, because if you don't meet one of them, that experience and reputation reference gets eliminated. And again, we follow the same process as for the goods and services procurements. We try 3 times. We send them an email, we call them twice, and as soon as we conclude that process, the evaluation gets closed, and whatever numbers we got, those get documented in the evaluation. Any information received after we have concluded the evaluation doesn't make it to the evaluation. So please make sure you contact your references and they know that we're gonna be calling them about the projects they have been submitting for experience, that you guys have been submitted for this factor to be evaluated. So let me show you, this is typically the format we use for construction. So complete all the information we have here. I know some of you wanna put extra work and show us that you are professionals, but this is what have happened in certain solicitations. You want to provide a better formatted page or document, and that's great. We really appreciate that. But then because you are transferring information to your form, you miss to include certain information. And that information, it is critical for us to see if you meet the minimum requirements. So please just use the form. I mean, you can attach extra pages if you want to show us pictures, or if you want to phrase it or format it in a different way, but make sure you complete the form. In this case, the project name, the client, the contact person, the address, phone number, email address, original project budget, the final construction cost, when it was completed, and the description. It is very important that you show the committee that you have the experience we're looking for. We have seen missing information here, or in the detail section, you don't provide anything. So, I mean, we try to do as much as we can, but remember, you need to be showing the committee that you're able, that you have the skills or qualifications to perform under this contract if you get selected. So take time, read through all the solicitation. If you have questions, you know we have a window for you to submit questions in writing, and you need to address those to the procurement analyst in charge of that solicitation, so we can help you. So this is a very good example. Everything is there, everything is complete and accurate, because I'm going to assume that the contractor or supplier completing this form has done the appropriate due diligence to complete this form correctly. So I'm going to show you a bad example. First of all, this contractor is not using the form. As you could see, I'm missing a lot of information here. Detail, we remodel a classroom. Like, okay, so where are the details? The name, and they're giving me a fax number. They're not even giving me a phone number, no email address. So obviously, this is a very bad example. So as much as you can, just try to submit all the information in the provided forms in the solicitation. If you have any questions, just contact us. And if something is not clear, we can respond to you via amendment while a solicitation is open. So now I'm gonna ask you if you have any questions.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Garcia, for that awesome presentation that you shared with our audience. I'm sure that there are plenty of questions in our Q&A. So let's go ahead and start with our first one. If we have done business with the city before, how do we get our VPR scores / information so that we know what to expect?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
If we have done business with the city before, how do we get our VPR scores or information so that we know what to expect?
Okay, so you need to contact the contract administrator, and it is listed in the solicitation. And if any change, you have been contacted by the user department, so they can provide you with copies in the solicitation. As you notice in these two factors, we don't go over how long you have been in business. We're only asking you for contracts that you have performed.
And then what is the word count recommended for the detailed project summary box?
What is the word?
The word count recommended for the detailed project summary box.
We don't have one. We typically ask you for 1 page, but if you feel that you need more than 1 page, I mean, feel free to show the committee that you are capable of doing this.
Awesome. And then we do have some questions coming in from our via Facebook Live. So how long do you anticipate holding the bid openings online and not in person?
Well, that is not, we don't have a clear date on that, but we will be providing information as we are getting it from So the certification we, by statute follow, it is the hire El Paso policy. We follow that policy. So depending on the type of solicitation and type of contract we're procuring, we give preference to local businesses that are certified under the hire El Paso policy.
And then what kind of preference does a local bidder receive?
So all the details are part of our solicitations, and also you can contact Amy Olivas, but I'm gonna give you just a brief description. So let's say I'm procuring a low bid for goods and services, and the second vendor, it is, or the second supplier, it is certified as a local vendor under High El Paso First, and it is within a time, it is within a dollar amount. We can recommend City Council, after following the process, we can recommend City Council to award not to the lowest, but to the next lowest because of High El Paso First.
And then we do have a question asking if the information will be available. We'll be sharing the slide. And so after our presentation, I will go ahead and email the slides to our attendees. We just got another question. What is the process to protest a bid?
Okay, so for competitive seal proposal, we have 2 chances for offerers to submit a protest. For the competitive seal proposal, as soon as we finish the evaluation, we send out the ranking to the suppliers that submitted for that solicitation. And then they have 3 days after receiving the ranking to protest the ranking. And the process, it is delineated in the solicitation. For solicitations for goods and services other than construction, you can protest at any time. But particularly, we get protests as soon as we post the item in one of the agendas for City Council. So you will see who's going to be getting, who we're going to be recommending for award. So if you feel something needs to be addressed, I mean, you can submit a protest, and also the details are in the solicitation.
Awesome. And where would you find that on the solicitation?
So if you go to the competitive seal proposal, there is a section called competitive seal proposal. If I remember correctly, it's section IC. So you will have that there. If you go to goods and services, there is a section called, and depending on the contract, the place of the section, it is a little different, but you can go to instruction to offerers, and there is a section, a paragraph that says protest process.
Okay, awesome. And then can references be from out of town or from Juarez?
They can be from out of town. We have check references on countries like England, depending on the service we're procuring, China. So yeah, as long as they can respond to the questions we're going to be asking, it's fine.
And then they are asking who would be considered a reference, a vendor, friend, bank, family, any specifics?
It depends on the details of the solicitation. So typically it is references for similar contracts. So
I'm
it
sorry.
could be a business or another public entity.
Oh. Is there a way to receive open city bids in all areas, non-construction services, construction?
I'm not sure I'm understanding that question. I don't know what they mean by open bids.
I'm the way that I'm reading the question, I'm understanding it if they would get it directly, or is it that they have to watch in order
Oh,
to?
okay. No, they have to go to our website to obtain the information there. We only have to comply with the requirement of advertising by state code. So we advertise on the newspaper, and you can register with us so you can get our per mail. We send it out every Thursday, so you are aware of the solicitations, the new solicitations that open that week. And typically, well, not typically, all the times it is Tuesday for formal solicitations. We have another small section that is informal solicitations, and those can be posted at any day of the week. But for projects or contracts over 50,000 of value, they get posted every Tuesday morning.
Okay, perfect. And is there any cost
No.
in submitting the bid? No.
It is free. You just need an email, a password to register, and you can download all the information.
Okay, perfect. And the website or the website address as to get this information? Do you have that on hand so that,
Yes, so you can go to the City of El Paso website, go to the Purchasing and Strategic Sourcing Department. There is a section, it is a second column, it is e-procurement. You go to e-procurement, and I can include that in the presentation too if you need me to. So it is very easy. You go to e-procurement and then you go to solicitations, and then you will see all the solicitations open or the status of those solicitations that already had bid opening and what is the status of those.
okay, perfect. And then if we have been denied, can we keep applying and bidding?
Denied as like you have not received an award?
I'm not too sure. They weren't specific as to what they meant by denied. Maybe we could answer the question if you haven't been given an award.
Yeah, as long as you you qualify for those solicitations, I mean, you're able to submit at any time, unless you have been disqualified by City Council to submit a response.
And are the city buyers open to meeting with businesses for industry briefings, either in person or by Zoom?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Are the city buyers open to meeting with businesses for industry briefings, either in person or by Zoom?
Yes. And we have also a process for that, or anytime that it is not related to a solicitation, we're here to help you guys. If you have questions just in general, we can schedule a meeting either in person, keeping our distance, or by Teams.
Okay, perfect. So it looks like we don't have any more questions. I will go ahead. If there is any more questions that we have for Ms. Garcia, we can go ahead and ask them in the Q&A. But moving forward, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for presentation to finish up. Sorry, let's do that. Okay. Oh, sorry. And then, as you can see, we have Ms. Claudia's contact information. So if you have any questions, please give her a call or send her an email and she will get in touch with you to answer those or push you to whoever it is that may answer your questions. I know that was a question in the Q&A, if they could get your information for that. And then, like I said, if there are any other questions, please put them in the Q&A or ask them in the messenger for Facebook Live. But really quick, I'm going to close out by talking about our 2 assistance programs that the Chamber has launched. And Ms. Garcia, I will ask you if you have any closing comments that you'd like to share with our listeners.
So we're here to help you, want to help you improve your responses. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact our department, to contact me. You already have you will be getting my information. So I'm here to help you.
Thank you so much. And so as Ms. Terry had mentioned, we have 2 assistance programs here at the Chamber. One of our assistance programs is our Small Street, Main Street Assistance Program, which addresses the many issues that COVID-19 pandemic has caused to El Paso's small minority and women-owned businesses. We have a team of business development specialists here in-house waiting to provide our eligible local businesses with a free business assessment and a free business survival kit that is valued at over $100 each. And as Ms. Terry did touch on, our Small Business WorkSafe, WorkSmart grant program. This is a partnership through the El Paso CARES Act that will work to address the many issues, again, that the COVID-19 pandemic has caused our small businesses in the rural areas of the El Paso County. The Chamber will be accepting applications to the end of this week for grants ranging from $500 to $2,500. So if you have any questions for either one of these assistance programs, please do not hesitate to call our Chamber at 915-566-4066, or go ahead and check out our website at the epHCC.org. And then you can go ahead and see those there. And then on your screen, we have our upcoming programs for you so that you can tune in with us for any of our upcoming webinars. So with that being said, Ms. Garcia, you have the final word today. If you have any other closing comments for us or any other information you would like to share.
I just want to thank you guys for giving us the opportunity of sharing this information with our local businesses primarily. We want to be able to continue the awards local.
Well, on behalf of the chamber and behalf of our audience, we would like to thank you, Ms. Garcia, for all the information that you shared with us in your presentation and joining us today. So to our listeners as well, please give us a call here at the chamber. And then of course, we will go ahead and forward this presentation to you. And you will also have Ms. Claudia Garcia's information. And again, thank you all for sitting with us today. Thank you, Ms. Garcia. And